eligibility first, lottery second.
And who will conduct those lotteries?
It would be conducted by staff. So basically, everybody come, and I know this is gonna sound very elementary, but it's almost like a bingo. You get your number, the numbers go in a basket. We go and we have somebody. We roll them and pick. We roll them and pick. We roll them and pick. It's about as simple as that.
So it would become
You said by district.
yeah.
How are we gonna do?
It'll be district.
We have an open application process citywide. We then go through eligibility where we verify all the information for the applicants. In verifying eligibility, we'll know just how many come out that are eligible out of the total from every district, 4, 3, 2, 1. Based on that, and based on how you guys are talking, we can then allocate the total pot based on the percentage of eligible. Okay? With the one criteria, with the money from the CRA, we have to ensure individuals eligible also, in certain cases, if they get it, they're in the they're in the CRA district. And as everybody knows, CRA districts go from east to west. So that would be how we execute it.
I like that process.
So the need is not a factor at all.
Yeah, it'll be taken into account in the eligibility. So we would prioritize, like you said, elderly, disabled, yeah, so on and so forth.
Yeah, elderly, but the state of the property too. I mean, the severity of their problems should also be a factor, not just the age. If you have two 70-year-olds and then one of them has, much more problem than the other, how do you factor that in?
Hi, my name is Lynn Dyer. I'm at 12680.
We closed public hearing. Wasn't public hearing open on? Huh? We already did public hearing. Yeah.
But
There is
pertaining to the qualification.
We already did public hearing. Main public hearing is closed. Now it's the dais that's discussing this.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
The director just told me that we do an inspection as part of the eligibility process. So we'll be able to assess the severity of each case. If you want us to add a factor on
Yeah.
that criteria, we can come up with something. A score, I guess a scoring
No,
factor.
I want it to be part of the process
So-
to be included here. Can we add it here?
So add an amendment that criteria is also we'll prioritize severity.
Yeah,
Mr. Mayor, just to clarify.
the severity of the need.
So staff would there be a score? How would I know
Exactly.
How would I know?
A scoring process.
that?
They're gonna conduct an inspection.
I know.
That's an
I know.
home inspection.
There's actually no range of scores of severity. It's really our inspector going out and making the determination that there is deterioration, that the roof is damaged, or there's some structural or safety issue. It's your inspector doing that and making that judgment call. But there's no 1 to 10, low, medium, high of severity. It's just deteriorated or it's not deteriorated.
Okay. It sounds simple, but I don't want somebody to come here and there's a fight between staff and them, but that's fine.
Could we pass and bring back a process addendum?
Sure.
And we will lay out on paper all of the things that all of the things that you've brought as your priority items in determining eligibility.
I have a question before that. Can we divide the funds and then that way all the problem
There's no problem.
Kinda-
That's how you
kinda-
create the
no,
problem.
I mean it's not a problem. I'm
Based
just
on
saying.
the amount of people that's gonna come and apply and qualify.
Well, no,
Okay,
because
I'm gonna
there will
give
be a problem
I'm
there.
gonna give. It's $1 million. I'm gonna give Carol 250,000.
Thank
Okay.
you.
She only have 2 people, and then the money gonna be sitting there when you have
No.
when you need one. That's what we did with the tree.
Well, guys, wait. We have to move now.
Okay,
You guys
just-
do
just-
understand.
I'm
We
gonna
have to
throw
move
something
on.
else, which is why we can't really divide and decide, because you also have 700,000 from the CRA. Okay, the CRA does not go into a portion of my district and a portion of Scott's district. I mean, there's portions out there, and I think you've got a separate 700,000 just for the CRA, and now you've got another 400,000 that can go citywide for
Yeah.
those, which also includes areas that are not.
We got it.
But tonight we're voting on the
So you
on the
do have
400.
two different tiers of funding. So I don't think you can do that this evening.
All right, Mr. Clerk. Well, actually, we need a motion
Motion to move?
with the proposed amendments.
Yes, sir, from you and
Yeah.
from you and Councilman Bunim. You made one, right, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I mean,
Proposed amendment is,
Okay, so I have a motion made to approve tab F with the proposed amendments as made from Councilman Bieneme, Councilman Desume, and Mayor Smith Joseph. And that's it. So that means that's what the minutes are going to say. This was approved with their amendments, so staff would be required to go back, review the video, and
Correct.
take everything verbatim. But our minutes going to basically say this item was approved with the amendments from the 3 council members that I announced. That motion,
what type of amendment you talking about? Because we just threw some amendments, but we didn't have first and second. The only amendment we have a motion on was
your
Exhibit C.
amendment, Councilman Desume's amendment, and Mayor Joseph's amendment.
my
If I'm
amendments
incorrect?
are only two: to consider the severity of their needs,
you guys-
because one roof may be worse than the.
So do you guys want to
another.
state your amendment on the record to be clear,
Yeah.
just so that we can have
Yeah,
a
we
clear
do that.
record?
Okay,
so
my
that-
first amendment is
Okay.
to include severity of the need. So I don't have to. You can describe that. Thereafter. And the second amendment is to define the word occupy.
Got it. Councilman Desume, what's your amendments?
I don't even remember what.
that's the one I haven't been seconded by you.
So which one is that?
When you exceed $20,000.
Oh, okay, the 20,000,
be
yes, not the
approved by
10,000.
council.
Yes, okay,
And
thank
that's
you.
your only amendment? Okay, and
Yeah.
Councilman Desume, what are your amendments?
Exhibit C, right? Page 3.
I'll-
If it exceed $20,000,
They needed to come back
to
to
bring
council.
it before council for approval.
That's just okay.
There was one other amendment
Oh.
that you guys read into it. You also asked that staff be given the ability to waive the five-year prohibition
Yeah,
on participation in a previous program.
based on the need.
Based on safety,
Based on,
safety.
based on safety.
Yeah.
Life safety. Right.
Okay, so the motion was made by Councilman Desume to approve tab F with those amendments that was just read on the record. Do I have a second?
Second,
The motion was seconded by Councilman Bieneme. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Tab G, proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, supporting the Paris Agreement and recommending that the city of North Miami formally join the Southeast Florida Regional Climate Change Compact as a municipal partner, endorsing the mayor's climate action pledge, thereby affirming support for the compact, implementing the regional climate action plan in whole or in part, and urging all the mayors of Miami-Dade County to support and endorse both the Paris Agreement and the mayor's climate action pledge, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes. That was tab G.
Thank you very much. Do we have any presentation from staff on that? Okay, I'll ask the public if you want to be heard on this item to please come to the microphone. I see no one coming, so public hearing is closed on the item. And this is an item that is that we actually came up with when I sat down with the manager. And you all know about the issues of climate change, global warming, sea level rise. As a matter of fact, we just concluded a 4-day conference in Miami Beach, a U.S. Conference of Mayors. This was we discussed climate change extensively, and especially city of Miami Beach. I mean, we couldn't find a better city to talk about climate change, because there are much more risk than any other city. So they're doing a lot of structural changes, and there are so many different organizations and entities putting together, especially some of the European countries. They really are the ones taking the lead on this. climate change issues. So it behooves us as a local government to be as responsible as we can to make sure that going even retrofit some of the structures that we have to make sure that they are resilient. The word going around now is resiliency, to build a city that is resilient, that is able to withstand whatever adverse, weather, that may come. So this is a good thing to do, to pledge to the support the agreement that was done a couple of weeks ago in Paris, though our president did not support it, but a lot of mayors in the United States are joining together to support efforts to abate climate change. With that being said, I'll open it to my colleagues to comment or ask questions.
You haven't opened it to
Public hearing was open and it was closed.
Are we?
Ah.
Is Howard? I know. Oh, Howard is here. We know. He has to
I
say
didn't see you.
something.
That's why.
Oh, Lord.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Howard Tonkin, 12600 Griffin Boulevard. This is a bold cypress. I'm not selling it. But what I would like to let you all know is that this tree, at maturity, can absorb 800 gallons of dirty stormwater per day. And 100,000 of these trees in a city can drink 80 million gallons of stormwater per day. Now, to correct you, sir, sorry, with your misunderstanding of the vulnerability of sea level rise, Miami Beach is way safer than North Miami, and it's what nobody understands. You see, the most vulnerable place in the world to climate change is the 4 canal entrances of North Miami-Dade County. The most vulnerable place in the world right now is the residents of Opa-locka, Miami Gardens, and North Miami, who don't live close to the water, whose homes are at and below sea level right now. Now, gray engineering, conventional engineering, costs so much money. Combined with green engineering, we have a shot of sustaining our city in the future. However, this tree will take 30 years to benefit our city in a real way, so it's always 20 years too late to plant, but we should start now. So as far as our city being vulnerable to sea level rise, a sinkhole opened on Griffin Boulevard this morning. It was patched later this morning, and it reopened this afternoon. We have the ground shifting beneath us, and I promise you, no city in South Florida is more vulnerable than North Miami. That is a scientific fact. And I present this tree to Carol Keys because Carol has taken on the issue of climate change and has worked so hard to support my work. However, my work has been so ridiculed by certain people within our city, and Carol Key has been a rock of support for me, and I want to present a beautiful bold cypress to her, thanking her for her support. Thank you, Carol.
Mr. Attorney, can I accept that?
How much is it? How much is it?
$100.
William Prevotel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. I would like to speak in support of Citizen Tonkin and all of his good efforts in bringing these matters to our attention. I'd like to supplement that, and it ties into something I'll be coming up a little bit later on, and that is the need for us preparing physically our infrastructure for the upcoming sea level rises and such. And in particular, the item of exempting structured parking, of sort of accommodating and inviting structured parking on any new development. How ironic it is that just moments ago, we have people from the community that are trying to do their best with a measly $400,000 to help our community. And at the next stage, the next item that'll come up, our council may be in a position to say, no, we don't want new development that'll bring about better, that'll bring about more income, that'll bring about more tax revenue, that will lift our projects off the floodplain, that'll be safer.
Are you
that'll
talking?
provide ventilation.
You still talking?
I'm talking about the
on-
environment.
on
I'm talking
tab
about
G?
the environment. I'm
Yeah.
talking about the environment. And that our council might be in a position to do that. Now, you're going to be facing that in this next item. But I'm saying that you have, in these 3 issues here, some very important concerns for the future. And I think we should take the course that's really the most obvious and easiest, and that is to address the canals, address the plantings, raise money where we can on the opportunities that we have so we can supplement where it's most needed by those who are most challenged. We have that there. It's there and it's in the air. It's right here. Why don't we take advantage of that rather further suppressing everything? So I'm in favor of what Howard Tonkin has said, and I hope we keep that in mind, and I hope we really focus a lot of our efforts to going forward and creating the best path forward in so many ways rather than, one compromise after another. Thank you.
All right.
Hi, I'm Laura Hill, 13075 Griffin Boulevard. I want to commend you for this this item. I think it's important. I do want to say though that it's kind of easy to join in on these things. What's harder is to support residents who are taking these ideas that come from the Paris Agreement and putting it into action in the streets in our local community. It's harder to support those, and I would like you to support your local environmentalists who have been working very hard on their own properties and their own behaviors to circumvent some of the things that are causing the problems that we're facing as a world. So you have a lot of assets in your own community that can do so many great things in our community, and if you agree with the spirit of the Paris Agreement and Compact, please support your local people. Thank you.
Okay, public hearing is not closed.
Make a motion to approve?
Second. I have a motion made by Councilwoman Keys to approve tab G. The motion was seconded by Vice Mayor Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item was passed with a 5-0 vote. Tab H. Proposed ordinance, second reading of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, amending Article 4, Employees Retirement System, ordinance number 691, and Article 5, Police Pension Plan, ordinance number 748, specifically at section 15-90, entitled Retirement Benefits, and section 15-126.3, entitled Law Enforcement Service Credit, Contributions for Law Enforcement Service, providing for repeal, conflicts, severability, codification, and for an effective date.
Through the mayor, very quickly, council, this is the second reading of the pension ordinance that was approved by the board at the last meeting. The first thing the ordinance does is to amends the ordinance to extend the time for members to make a buyback election, and we've been provided with the full actuarial report. The second, the ordinance amends the City of North Miami Employees Retirement System Plan 691 to permit a grandfathered law enforcement officer who did not join the North Miami Police Pension number 648 to receive a lump sum distribution of reserve chapter 185 tax premium tax revenue. This has no cost. This is a no cost item to the city. So with that, I ask for your consideration.
Okay, so we do we have any other presentation? No? Public hearing is now open on tab H, as in Harry. This is the second reading. I see no one coming, so public hearing is now closed. Members of the dais.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Desmay to approve tab H. The motion was seconded by Vice Mayor Galvin. Vice Mayor Galvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilwoman Keys?
Yes.
Councilman Bieneme?
Yes.
Councilman Desirme?
Yes.
Mayor Joseph?
Yes.
Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Tab I. Proposed ordinance, second reading of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, amending chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the city of North Miami entitled Administration, Article 3 entitled Boards, Committees, Commissions, specifically at Division 2 entitled Board of Trustees of the North Miami Museum of Contemporary Art, MoCA, by amending the composition and structure of the MoCA Board of Trustees, providing for repeal, conflicts, severability, codification, and for an effective date.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Natasha Colbrook-Williams, Chief of Staff and Interim MOCA Director. Wanted to point out some of the amendments being proposed, consistent with the way the ordinance read from 1994 to 2014. We're requesting the removal of the resident requirement for board members appointed by the City Council. In the spirit of increasing transparency and communication amongst MOCA and the City of North Miami, the MOCA Director will be charged with reporting finances to the city opposed to the board chair. All meetings will also be required to be open to the public. In regards to the issues of a quorum, it currently it's being outlined in the ordinance for the first time. It's never been done before. The purpose of this is to address the issue of a lack of participation from our board. We currently have it where it reads 6 members constitutes a quorum. Keeping in mind that a board can range from anywhere from 11 to 31, we're recommending that that be changed to maybe a percentage of 33%.
You said you recommend that the meetings be open to the public?
That is part of the amendment being proposed now.
Being proposed.
That language has been added.
Now, and that's Mr. Attorney, MOCA being an incorporated entity, how do we, is that we are in the position to,
Yes, I mean, this ordinance, all this ordinance is a framework on how the organization will operate. And so this ordinance just is the framework. You'll get your 10 members, they'll select some other members, and then they'll do the everyday business of the organization. But this ordinance sets off the framework of that.
then it's okay for us to do that,
Yes, sir.
though they are incorporated?
It's done all the time.
Okay. The item is now open to the public.
Hi, my name is Ariana Hernandez Reguant. I live on 1860 Venice Park Drive. I oppose these changes, and I want you to reconsider them, and also, if not oppose the ordinance, postpone the vote until there's a committee of experts from the region, of arts administrators, and their recommendations made. These amendments, I believe, will stiffen the development of the institution. For instance, one about the quorum. When you say that they can be quorum with 6 people, and then there's another line that says that then decisions can be made by simple majority, that means that 4 people can decide what's happening to this institution. I understand that the city needs flexibility now because of everything that has gone on with this museum, but it's in complete disarray, and this is not the time to really, skip through proper process. And so if the members of the board are not participating, then you might want to reconsider and form another board in the future. The same is with there are also other items in the amendments, like the requirement that the board members, how much money they have to give, or an artwork. I mean, this institution is up in the air. Collecting institutions are 19th century institutions, and so to make it a collecting institution now, before really there's a course for this museum, I think it's premature. And so what I urge you to do is to postpone this vote for 60 or 90 days and form a committee, a regional committee that is made out of arts administrators from other museums, the American Association of Museums, funders that had withdrew the funding in the past, a committee of people that also include people from the city, maybe from the downtown business association, and that the course is chart where there's an outline on how this institution is going to look, and what kind of director.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The public hearing is still open.
Gotta get up here quick. I second most of what was said just now. I don't know if people in the audience are familiar, but our MOCA Museum just a few years ago was in great peril. And part of that great peril was because, as it turns out, we had a board, a very substantial board. To my knowledge, it was about 30 people. And it was quite shocking to find out, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I've asked this question multiple times, how many North Miami residents were on the board? And the answer I kept on getting was 0. Nobody from North Miami, not one, on our MOCA board, our most valued treasure, cultural treasure here in the city. I'd like to propose that the new board not repeat the same mistake, that we set it up so that there's 50%, at least 50%, minimum of 50% from our city. That could be the working board. And if you want to get another 50% or a matching number of people coming from the outside, possibly with deep pockets, that they be the executive board or something like that. And we should take all those measures to go out and really get people that are interested. I bet you have more people in the room tonight that are interested in sitting on that board and really making a change than we've had for the last few years over there. So thank you very much for your consideration, and let's hope we can get this back on track. Thank you.
Hi, Ileana, 849 Northeast 121st Street. I also agree. I moved to the downtown because of the MOCA. It's a very special institution. It's an anchor. And we do need a committee of experts or funders, of people in the region who can chart the course for the future of the museum and who can also develop a profile for the position that needs to be filled. So I ask you guys to please postpone the vote or to vote now. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Frederick Mark, Chairman of the Board of the MOCA. In order to have the MOCA go in the right direction and to get its accreditation, I fully support the recommendation of Natasha Colebrook. It's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Tyrone Hill, 847 Northeast 145th Street. I might add, in our local institutions, the public schools, there are several schools within North Miami and surrounding areas that have museum magnet programs. I would implore you to also incorporate those expertise that are existing in those schools, the teachers and some of the students as well, just to bring an additional component to this, if possible. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Alston, 1140 Northwest 125th Street. I stand in support of residency being considered as being a requirement of a board member for MOCA. Thank you.
My name is Raymond Emmanuel. I'm at 12360 Northwest 2nd Avenue. I also support a partnership 50-50 resident to be part of that board also.
Okay, I see no one coming forward. Public hearing is now closed. Just for the record, Mr. Prevotel, Dr. Larry Pierre, he's part of the MOCA board, and he happens to live in Keystone, which is part of North Miami. Any questions?
That's now.
Okay. Any comments on the diet?
Just a quick question for Ms. Williams. Can you elaborate on the requirement to be on the board?
In terms of prior to 2014, it was not outlined that you had to be a resident. Removing it does not omit a council member or any persons from appointing a board member that resides within the city. We're just not restricting it.
What are the other requirements?
Basically, you have to be a contributor to the Board of Trustees. The amount would be outlined in the management agreement, which would come back before the council.
The amount is not there.
How much
It
is
is not
being
in this
proposed?
ordinance.
Before
It's
it
currently
was
at 10,000.
10,000.
It's currently 10,000.
But last
That's
week
it?
you bring it to 25 now.
That was an error on our part. That number existed in the bylaws. That's not before you today.
Oh.
I mean, if you want the criteria is actually in the ordinance, and if you'd like me to read, I can read it. But
No, that's
it's,
fine.
It's in there.
I was more worried about the price. That's when, as of right now, it's still at $10,000.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, my only concern which I had with the city manager was basically the.
Oh, you mean not with the document, with the city manager?
Yes, it was actually, and we discussed that. It was basically the employment of the other members. So just for the record, because that's my only little hesitant about the resolution. I don't mind with the resolution. So, but you stated that currently it is in that same form. From my understanding, that the director would be employed of the city, and the other employees would be employed by Mocha, which will form their own salary, wages, and benefits, and do they have their own retirement system, or do they participate in the Florida retirement system?
They do have their own retirement system. We currently have positions that are budgeted in the city side that we would be moving over to Mocha Inc., which is already established. That's what the manager was referring to. The Mocha director will remain an employee of the city.
And that was my concern. Do we know which retirement system they have?
I can verify for you. I do not have the name with me.
Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I would like, moving forward, to think about splitting up for more of a working board and an executive board. But I think that's something we can work on towards the future. I am a little bit hesitant with a 6-person quorum, because that does.
We're recommending that it go from 6 to a third, so 33.3% of the.
Out of 11, out of
or
11
whatever
minimum.
the number is.
Yeah.
So how many members are we looking at? Because we're going to appoint 10 by the city council and 20.
It would be 30. We're
30, so
shooting
we
for
think-
30 in total.
So if we have 20 and if we have 20 and we have a third, then we're still back
Whatever.
down to 6, right?
But it's still a third of the board.
So if the board's only 20, we still only have 6 people running the museum.
I mean, we've internally we've talked about this issue, and again, what we were trying to address was the issue of sometimes people not showing up. And I know
And if
from
they
the
don't-
last conversation, it was clear that we want to make sure that when we do appoint or when people are selected, these are individuals that do show up. The 2 criteria we've seen would be to either recommend a 33 or a third, or as it was before, it was silent to it, and we utilize Robert's Rules of Order, which is 50% plus 1.
I'd like to see 50%. I think if we are
As a
going to be
quorum.
appointing members, yes, some of them maybe have deep pockets, but we do need people working. And it's not just to have your name on the board. I think we need people to come. That's what happened with our board, this past board. We had all these members and nobody showed up, and 2 or 3 people running our museum. Just my thoughts.
All I'll say on this subject is some of the changes that you see here are based on the trials that we've gone through. In other words, litigation. And so some of these changes that you've seen are just based on that. So I would caution on making it too difficult to have a quorum, because then the organization just can't do its business. So the number 6 was proposed in order to have as few number of people as possible who can actually conduct the business, which we've seen was a problem. 33 and a third % is what came out of our discussion the last time. It seemed like a compromise. My recommendation is to just let's go forward, because right now we don't have anything, and see how it works, and we can always come back to you and tell you whether it's working or not and propose changes. But we need to get something started, because you will lose the accreditation of this museum.
Okay, thank you.
Guys, come on. Mr. Mayor, through you to the city attorney, I was trying to listen to what you said, and people shouting from the audience caused me to lose the last couple of sentences that you said. Did you recommend a review period for this?
We can do a review period. My concern again is that, while we're going through all these discussions, we don't have the things that we need to have a museum that's working, and we will lose accreditation. If the organization comes in and sees that we don't have this, we don't have the bylaws, which is going to be coming up next. If we don't get these things approved, you won't have a museum that's accredited, which is our concern, which is staff's concern.
And
So
if we wait 90 days, we potentially lose our accreditation, which means MOCA's
Very
done.
much so, yes.
Okay, can we I'll make a motion to, I'll offer an amendment that we review this every 3 months for the first year, if this is approved tonight, to make sure that it's not only meeting our needs, but that we don't have a group of 2 or 3 people making decisions on behalf of the museum.
I'll
So bring
second
it back every 3 months to the council so that we can make sure it's still firing right. If we need to make any changes at that time, we can make those changes.
I'll second that.
Okay, now when you say to bring it back what will they be bringing back exactly? Is it
Sounds like an
performance?
operating report.
Yeah,
Performance report? Or?
Make a report. If we find out, guys, if we appoint a board of 30 people and 2 people are showing up, this dies. Like, we'll just overturn it. So obviously, common sense is if we appoint 30, let's make sure that a healthy representation is making the decision. I totally hear you figuratively and literally as you're shouting over the report from staff. But if we don't do something, MOCA dies because everybody thinks that we've just gone away. So I'm ready to vote in favor. If if we're willing to say, let's bring it back every 3 months and make sure that we're doing this the right way.
Now, of course, I was going to come to the point of certification. That was going to be my main a point here, which you just came to. Now, and the first lady, I'm sorry I didn't get your name, who spoke against and asked that we table this item. And we know MOCA is a jewel of our city. And when we talk about museum arts, it's not just business. It's art. And we've talked about this, Mr. Manager and Mr. Attorney. And going forward, I don't think there are different associations of museums and who oversee the way museums operate. And if you want to be known as the international museum that we are, if we want to remain that, we have to do much more than this. And we had the discussion, and last time we opined and we discussed this MOCA museum. The mayor, by default, is a member of the board. That was the resolution that we passed. And there was a very good discussion as to why that was. I think it's the Councilman Scott Galvin who made the motion. I don't remember. Is because of what happened in the past, because MOCA was operated as an island and the city didn't know what was going on, and that's what created what you guys know what happened a couple of years ago. And I think that should remain. In the future, whoever the mayor is, I only have 22 months to go, so I'm not making this point for myself. But I do agree that we should have a trimestral report on performance for us to continue to make decisions on this. But we have to do much better than what we have here.
Just to start, do you want that to be ex officio or voting?
Well,
I don't. Ex officio.
What is it?
No, we're just making it, letting the manager and the attorney knows that we already have a motion in a second. And what Scott's going to have to do, he's going to have to basically open up his motion so that we can include your amendment.
I can just ask the maker of the motion if you would accept.
Certainly accept that friendly amendment that the mayor be a voting member of the board.
Voting member of the board.
I assume that was the mayor's intent. He didn't want to be ex officio. He wanted to be a voting member.
Yes.
Yep.
Or she, whenever there might be a next mayor.
All right, Mayor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I have a motion made to approve tab I with the amendments as stated on the record by Councilman Scott Galvin and by Mayor Smith Joseph. The motion was then seconded by Councilwoman Keys. Mayor Joseph, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Galvin?
Yes.
Councilwoman Keys?
Yes.
Councilman Bieneme?
Yes.
Councilman Desume?
Yes.
Item passes with a 5-0 vote with amendments. Tab J. Where you going? Oh, okay. Tab J, proposed ordinance first reading of the city of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, repealing in their entirety Chapter 3 entitled Alcoholic Beverages, Chapter 20 entitled Tree Preservation and Protection, Chapter 29A entitled.
Where are you? I'm sorry.
Tab J, Mayor. Entitled Wireless Telecommunication Towers and Antennas of the Code of Ordinances in effect prior to the effective date of this ordinance, and amending Chapter 29 entitled Land Development Regulations in the form attached as Exhibit A, providing for an expanded and consolidated list of definitions of terms and clarification of powers and duties, establishing
The meeting is still in session, please.
establishing a new zoning appeals board, new zoning districts, and a new official zoning map to provide consistency with the implement the city's adopted 2015 air-based comprehensive plan amendments, and more specifically, the 2036 future land use map of the future land use element thereof, updating the consolidated table of permitted uses and the consolidated table of development standards, providing for new transition and sustainability design standards, and more streamlined development-friendly procedural requirements in accordance with the applicable sections of chapters 163 and 166 of the Florida Statutes 2016, providing for repeal, conflicts, severability, codification, and an effective quasi-judicial and an effective date.
Wow.
It's under that, you sure?
I hope you don't have to read that again.
Okay, so this matter, according to the city attorney, is in fact a quasi-judicial matter. Go ahead.
And the other thing we have to mention is that you're voting both on, when you get to the vote, it's both on the land development regulations and the zoning map, which should be two separate motions.
Whoa. Okay, I'll let you deal with that. So, with regards to this particular quasi-judicial matter, if you are not an attorney and or you are not a city employee, and you intend to speak on this matter, you would unfortunately have to be placed under oath. So if you know you want to speak on this matter, just stand up and I would swear you in. If you will not speak on this matter, and don't forget this is an exception for, oh, Jesus. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, everyone, again, the exceptions are if you are a city staff, you don't have to get sworn in. If you are an attorney of record, you do not need to be sworn in. And if you don't meet those exceptions, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God? Thank you. Mayor, they're sworn in.
That was a long read.
Okay, there is a request for 5-minute recess. Okay, it is now 8. No, it's 8:55 now. We will reconvene at 9 o'clock. Thank you very much.